everybody, it's Safi and Marco, Dish Out on the Movies. And we did a movie earlier today. Now we're doing 2 more episodes of the latest Masterchef season.
Ding, 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 ding! Round 1. Okay, Safi, it's time to fight now. And now I will remind you, there will be no illegal hitting. You do not hit below the belt, Safi. So it's time to box. Because somebody in our comments said that, like, we're ready to box. And so I thought that'd be pretty funny.
Well,
because,
I think we're both the thing is, these 2 episodes, we're both in agreement about pretty much everything when it comes to these.
Yeah, because this MasterChef was just terrible. Well, I wouldn't say it like terrible. I would say the second was terrible, but I always hate the restaurant takeovers because they're so stressful and they're so, they're like Hell's Kitchen. And the thing is that this is MasterChef. It's not Hell's Kitchen. And none of these chefs could probably be in Hell's Kitchen because Hell's Kitchen takes a different kind of contestant, as we've seen. The types of looking contestants on Hell's Kitchen versus the hey MasterChef contestants.
Well, the first episode was called The Wall, and that's because they constructed a wall between 2 sets of Marco, don't bother, Bernie. 2 sets of contestants. In other words, they had 3 teams, and one side of the team was on one side of the wall, and the other side was on the other side of the wall, the other contestant.
Basically, the whole challenge was that they had to make an identical dish. What happened?
Communicating through a wall.
Yeah, a wall where there's no holes or anything. It's just the straight wall. And the thing is that right off the bat, it was weird because Emily got to pick all the teams, and it was weird because of the team pairings and what ended up happening with certain contestants who had quote-unquote strong voices. And she put together, let's go through them.
Okay, well,
Christian
and
Willie. And honestly, Willie should not be there this long, but he did do a really good job. And Christian, of course, the best one there, he did a great job. And they worked very well. Which was interesting because they were from the same season. And so it was kind of like, shouldn't have picked that was a bad idea to do that. That was a clear advantage. I bet. So that was unintended. So that was weird. But it was very fun.
Yeah, she shouldn't have. See, I didn't even know that.
Speak up, Safi.
I didn't know that, so I agree with you. I think it was because
since
she was picking, she had control, and she could have, made everybody into a bad situation, or at least as bad as she thought she could do it. And she thought Willie wasn't, I don't know, something about his voice.
She had this thing where, like, she wanted to put strong voices with weak voices. And so she accidentally segregated the two black guys together. But what was funny was they did such a good job.
Well, their cooking styles are from similar parts of the country. So they even without being able to see the other and maybe completely communicating perfectly.
Their dish looked delicious too.
Yes, it did look delicious, and they were able to. I mean, they had to have. Let's tell them what happened. They had to cook the same thing, so they had to agree on what they were going to cook.
They also had to plate the same. They had to have the pepper placed at an angle, at the same angles, and they had to have the same little squirtles of sauces And ooh, is your puddle of sauce as big as his puddle of sauce? The thing that I kind of thought was stupid about the challenge is that in no restaurant situation would this ever occur. Like, in no real world scenario would this ever occur. Like, the only thing I could think of is if, like, two people are in a prison together and, like, they're cooking in their prison cells. And then they're, like, talking through the walls of the prison. Like, that's the only... And I'm not saying that these guys would ever go to prison at all. I'm just saying that, like, that's the only, like, wall scenario that I could see. Like, I can't see, like, any other... Like, what's a situation in reality where two chefs have to cook opposite a wall and they have to make the same plate? Like, I just can't see it. But it is a challenge. And so she had a thing with picking big voices and small voices.
Yeah.
And so the next team was Derek. Jessica, what the fuck?
Not Jessica, God.
Jessica, who's Jessica?
I'm starting to... This is when I get tired.
Jessica. What's a Jessica? There's no Jessica in
Never
here.
mind.
Who's Jessica?
Never mind.
Who's Jessica?
I don't know.
Who is Jessica, Safi?
I don't know.
Safi, who the fuck is Jessica?
I don't know. I'm tired. I
Safi!
wanted to do this, and all of a sudden I sat on the couch, and the moment you sit on the couch, it turns you into a...
Tell me where Jessica's dead body is, Safi. Did you kill her with an axe in the dining room or a revolver in the billiards room?
Yeah, that was supposed to be the red... What is it? The red hat lady? Or
The red hat lady?
The lady
What?
with the red on?
What? What?
I'm talking about Clue.
Oh, okay. No, that's Miss Scarlet.
Not
You have Miss Scarlet.
Yeah.
You have Miss White, and you have Mrs. Peacock.
Okay.
And then you have Colonel Mustard.
Colonel Mustard.
No, Colonel Mustard. Professor Plum, and Mr. Green.
Oh, Mr. Green.
Not my history teacher from high school. So anyways, Derek, so you have Derek, the guy with the haircut that Safi likes to discriminate because of his hairstyle. And he was paired with Amanda, the Spice Queen. And that was a terrible pairing just because, you know, honestly, she doesn't really, I don't know, like she's one of those people who doesn't seem like they would work very well with, like, others unless they're, like, really like her. And so, like, if she worked with, like, someone like maybe Dara, maybe she'd do better because, like, they're both kind of similar in terms of, like, their personalities. But with Derek, like, he's such a polar opposite to her. Like, he's this strong chef, and he's like, why wouldn't you want to pick me? I'm the best one here. Why wouldn't you? I'm the great... I win everything. I'm fucking amazing. I mean, I can cook steak on a grill. And she did not want him the most, which was funny. She didn't want to be with him the most, and then she gets him. But what happened was surprising, because with them, they ended up going home. And what happened, unfortunately, was that Derek decided that this was the week where he was going to take a fall, and where he would let Amanda take the lead, which is probably one of the stupidest decisions in this entire season. Because I could understand maybe if it was just a normal challenge with Amanda where there's no wall, but there was a fucking wall. And Derek, the strong voice, needed to take charge. And he didn't, and they went home. And unfortunately, though, we don't really know the true story because Dara did a terrible job, as usual. And it really just seemed like, yet again, the judges were biased and they didn't want to send Dara home. And so it felt like, I don't know. Did Derek and Amanda really do that badly? I couldn't say unless I tried the food. Which, honestly, their dish did look the worst there, and I kind of thought, it is a tough decision between them and then Dara and Shanika. And so the next pairing, since Safi's asleep, the next pairing is Shanika and Dara. This was another pairing where Shanika's a very strong voice. Dara is a weak voice who, she's doesn't deserve to be there anymore. She is a weak 5 contestant at best. And, that's just because of her experience level, which is something that she likes to discriminate against other people for, so why can't I do the same against her? Because it shows. It shows every single week she's out of her depth, she's out of her league, and she shouldn't be there. And it's like she sticks out like a sore thumb at this point.
Well, I think one thing we learned, though, that we've been talking about this.
Speak up, Safi.
Okay, we've been
after you just woke up from your nap.
We've been talking about this over and over. And every week it's the same. But we didn't really know what the other contestants thought. Because they just weren't ever in a position for us to hear, or they just didn't show it.
Well, there's no need to either. There's really no need to badmouth other contestants.
Yeah, I know. But today, tonight, in other words, we heard some disgruntlement.
In both episodes.
Both episodes. That was interesting, too.
In the first one, you had Emily say that Dara gets flustered. Gordon said Dara gets flustered.
Yeah.
And, they were all talking about how she does not work well in the kitchen because she's out of her depth and she's out of her league. Especially since it's Masterchef back to win with all these contestants who've actually done it before versus Masterchef Junior Season 1, where it wasn't even a fair competition because they had a bunch of fucking actors competing with actual chef kids. And so it really wasn't a fair competition to begin with. And to act like she deserves to be there with these high-ranking contestants is just ridiculous. I kind of wish that Sarah biatch would be here over her. The overrated blonde from that one season who shouldn't have been in the finale. That season, I would have rather have had her here and been complaining about her. Because she has more experience, she's better. And so, what happened though, was yet again, Shanika, the strong voice, she let Dara take the lead. Mm. And so it was funny because with both good teams, the common thing, the similarity in the teams that were good was that the strong voices led the teams. Christian led the team. Emily and Michael, they're both strong voices. They both led the team, but mostly Michael. Both of those teams did way better than the other teams, where you had the weak voices leading the teams, quote-unquote. And so Dara did a terrible job, and I started cringing because they were plating with 2 minutes to go, which is, to me, that's like suicide. And she did this weird thing where she left the stems on the mushrooms. And she said, put the full mushroom in the center, and then put the mushroom halves at the top and bottom of the fish. It was just so bizarre. It's why? If I'm going to have mushrooms, just put mushrooms in a pile over there and F off. Why does it need to be this stupid sushi fufu thing where it's you put the half mushrooms over here and you put the full mushroom over here? And then it was blackened trout, which is probably one of the weirdest things I've ever heard, Safi. Blackened trout. Are you waking up from your nap now?
No.
Your second or third nap, Safi?
Be quiet.
Safi,
Be quiet.
what are you doing? You need me to read you a bedtime story called Good Night, Safi? Love Dara?
Masterchef and trying to get through it. And
Love Dara?
being frustrated that this little girl who's out of her depth has gone this far. Other people went home that I don't think should have gone home. They may not have won the game, but they should have been there, and she shouldn't. Because this first episode, they royally miscommunicated. And they showed this. And Chef Ramsay saw it. He stood there while she did it. Dara started plating the food before the other girl. They should have been plating at exactly the same time. I mean, everything...
Yeah, she was trying to rush ahead because she's so stressed and so, like, just, it's so hard. And so she didn't even put any effort into doing that. She was like, I'm just going to rush and get everything. And, and meanwhile, Shanika taking her time, being careful, being strategic with her plating and everything.
Yeah.
So, Safi, why don't you just finish up talking about the second episode, and then I'll just talk about them, since you just want to go to sleep and not actually do a review.
Marco, why don't we just keep moving
Because you're not
on?
doing any review, you're just going to sleep.
I'm tired. Sorry.
Who cares? Like, I'm doing a review right now.
Okay, we'll keep going.
So, that was a disaster team, and it's unfortunate because in both bad teams, you really felt bad for the strong voices, because they both let the weak voices take charge. And the reason why was because Emily said that they were strong voices, and so they both felt bad, and they felt like they needed to be nice, and they needed to, like, ooh, I'm going to be a nice guy this episode and let that person take charge. Like, sorry, but if you're trying to be nice on a cooking show where the prize is like a ton of money and a lot of other stuff too, there's no room to be nice to people, especially in the top, what are they, top 8, top 6? Like, they were top 8, Safi. Are you going to wake up now?
I can't help it.
What are you doing?
I keep nodding.
What are you dreaming of anyway? Are you dreaming of Dara?
I'm not dreaming of anything.
Are you dreaming of Bree?
I'm very frustrated at this girl.
Safi, remember Bree. Remember
Yeah,
Bree.
still in the competition.
Safi, remember Bree.
Yes, Marco.
Is that what you were dreaming about just
Oh,
now?
for heaven's sakes. Oh, God.
It's okay, Safi.
That's weird. Even Bernie
So-
thinks so.
So, and then Michael and Emily, as they like to say, Michael! Michael and Emily did a pretty good job. They had a little bit of a rocky start, but they did a really good job. I thought that their dish looked the best. I would have eaten their dish the most, probably. I would have wanted to eat their dish the most. It looked very delicious, and, you have that crispy skin on the fish. I think, like, crispy skin on fish is probably, like, one of the best foods ever. Because it's like you're eating the fish meat, and then you get the crispy skin, and it's like an extra. It's like an extra, like, thing, like, ooh, I can eat the skin too? Wow! And it's like it's a treat.
And what was that, trout or salmon?
It was salmon, and then Dara and Shanika had the blackened trout. The blackened steelhead trout. And nobody fucks up steelhead trout!
Or don't do that.
Well, steelhead trout is my favorite fish.
Oh.
So they fucked up my favorite fish, Safi.
Well,
That pissed me
I
off.
thought it tasted okay. It was just, their plating, they were supposed to have identical plates. It wasn't just that they cooked the same thing. Everything had to be put on the plate in exactly the same spot without actually seeing the other's plate. Because remember, they were separated by a wall.
Yeah.
And so they had to figure it out by kind of communicating and having doing a code or something where they were both on the same page, and then they would get it right. And that seemed to be very difficult for some people.
For some people.
Well,
Safi, just admit it, Safi.
Safi.
Safi, just admit it. You're talking about Dara. You're being very mean because she's out of her depth, and so she sticks out like a sore thumb. Like, she would have been fine. Like, we would have had a positive opinion of her if she had just gone home like week 5. But it's like one of those things where they're pushed so much that you actually end up hating them. Like, it's kind of like how when people vote for what's the best ice cream, and they give you chocolate, strawberry, and vanilla, and everybody votes for chocolate, and it's like you kind of just want to vote for strawberry because strawberry is less overrated than chocolate and vanilla. Like, that's kind of what it's like. But at least with strawberry ice cream is a lot better than Dara. Would you agree with that, Safi?
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, what kind of ice cream is Dara anyway?
Coconut.
Coconut? God, Safi. How about coconut pineapple?
Oh, God.
Ooh! No, I don't know.
No, nobody would eat that.
How about butterscotch? I had
butterscotch.
Well, I love butterscotch, but I had a butterscotch peanut butter mountain from Ritter's, and it was not very good. Not a good combination of flavor. So anyways, we talked about... do we have any left to talk about? No. So as we said, what ended up happening was that the haircut guy got sent home with the Spice Queen, and then Dara got to skate by. But I was kind of glad that Shanika got to stay, the fake face, because she did not deserve to go home at all.
No, and all she wanted to do was stay. So.
Really?
Well, I mean, never mind. Still
Oh, Safi.
thing.
Shame on you.
Never mind.
What was it? All she like I think every single contestant in the history of the show wanted to stay, right? Like, cause
well,
I think that's the concept.
If they make a mistake,
that
they think that maybe they should go home. Maybe they deserve it.
Safi.
They hang on to a little strand of something that they want to stay. But that Dana,
It's Dana.
You can't think of
Dana.
Dara.
Safi, is it?
It just
Dara
isn't
the
right.
Explorer.
Dora.
No, this is Dara the Explorer.
This is Dara the...
She
is not qualified anymore to be there. You can tell everybody just seems more grown up, more seasoned, more experienced.
More professional.
And they don't
more,
say unprofessional things.
Yeah, in the restaurant challenge, she really showed her true colors, similar to Mafia Don. And she did the same thing, of course, in Masterchef Junior, where when she would get in these stressful situations, she would show her true colors, and she would say bad things. And so I would give the Wall episode, I give it like a C plus or a B minus. Like, I still enjoy watching them cook at the Wall, so I'll give it like a B minus.
Okay, I'll give it a B, because I thought it was... even though I don't care for Dara at all, I don't think she should be there anymore.
No.
I thought it was a very difficult challenge. I've never seen a challenge like that for any show that was that difficult. I thought that was the most difficult
They've
challenge.
had to do that before, Safi, remember?
No, I don't remember.
No. Worst Cooks in America had a challenge where they had to do the same thing.
Yeah, but you know what? I think, wasn't it what the chef, what's her name, Anne? Or the main character, the main person who does Worst Cooks in America.
Oh yeah, they would cook a dish and then they had to replicate it, but still, they had to do it with the Wall. And so Worst Cooks in America did it before.
MasterChef.
Worst Cooks in America.
Yes, I know, but I don't ever remember saying it MasterChef.
I wasn't saying that, Safi.
No, I know that, but it just...
Well, you just said MasterChef.
This one was... Never mind. I can't do anything with him. It's just, there's no way. I can't...
You just say MasterChef out of nowhere.
No, we're talking about MasterChef. I mean, we're supposed to be doing a review about the show.
Yeah, but I was saying, that's a challenge that's been done in cooking shows. Like, and we watched that cooking show together.
It just looked so... It seemed a lot more difficult. I don't know what it was, but they just... It didn't matter who they were. Unless they communicated perfectly, and Marco also thought that instead of the weaker person leading, we should have the stronger person leading.
Yeah, and I said that while you were dozing off. I said that, in both bad teams, the weak voices led the teams. And then in both quote-unquote good teams, the strong voices led the teams. And so you could kind of see what the thing was like, what it took to win that challenge was a strong voice, which is expected because there's a fucking wall. So, the restaurant challenge, I did not like it.
I didn't like it either, and it was in Beverly Hills
with a bunch of snobby rich people and a snobby rich owner and
a chef Puck. Was it Wolfgang Puck? And he's a little bit of a diva.
He's very famous, but he's like a big diva. And
this is the most, I don't know, this is one of the most hands-on effort that the chef, the famous chef, had in the restaurant challenge. Usually, it seems like most of the time, they're kind of off, and it's up to Gordon, and really mainly Gordon. He'll be the judge of what they do.
Well, that's because he's trying to emulate Hell's Kitchen,
I guess, and they, but it's happened a little bit where I guess he's the owner or he was visiting. I don't know, but Wolfgang Puck had a big hand in the outcome of who won, and oh my God, they actually brought him undercooked meat, and I knew that was going to be a big problem. That was actually so cringeworthy and uncomfortable.
Yeah, that was like, see, I don't really care because I'm reviewing it, and so it's like, But it's hard to watch because it's like
hard to watch.
It's like they're trying to emulate a professional situation. In a professional situation, you'd be fired.
Yeah.
So that's why it's uncomfortable. What happened was they picked the teams. They did a terrible job doing that. The judges. They picked for Willie to be the team captain, which was a terrible choice. They made the choice. And, they were probably doing that to expose him because they knew he needed to go home. But still, terrible choice. And Michael was on that team, and Shanika. And for some reason, they both did a terrible job as well, probably because of the team captain. And they never, ever switched places, which was a big travesty. Like the fact... What?
Well, Chef Gordon told them. He even told them, pick a new captain or get your act together.
He was so upset at the end of the show that he said, you guys lost, but you could have won if you had picked a new team captain. You know that, right? And it's like, Like, yeah, I know. Like, why would they let Willie stay the team captain? Like, what a terrible captain. Like, he was not even a team captain in the slightest. He was terrible.
He wouldn't say anything.
He was weak.
wouldn't communicate, wouldn't say a word. And I thought that was odd.
And so with the blue team, they lost. Willie went home, and that just, unfortunately, it was another episode where Dara did terrible, and then they let her slide by and sent someone else home and instead of her.
And she said inappropriate things.
Yeah, the things that she said were hilarious.
And she looked so overwhelmed and like she was a little kid. And they were watching
Turn your phone off, Safi.
They were watching her and babysitting her because she's so awful.
Well, we'll get to the red team. So the blue team overall, they were terrible. And in fact, I would say, even though I do think that Dara should have gone home, obviously, I do think that Willie going home is also a good choice.
Yeah.
Because he's not as good as the others.
No, he's
and
not.
He stuck out like a sore thumb in this episode with all the raw meat. I mean, they had multiple raw dishes. And when you have raw dishes, that's an automatic you're out.
And usually somebody might have something like that. It happens once, and that's it. And then they recuperate. And that happened more than once. That's what I mean. It was so hard to watch.
And they got worse, and it was so gross, guys. Like, nobody could cook veal for some reason. Like, everyone had... Safi, we need to have veal.
No, thank you.
Yeah, we need to have veal.
No, thank you.
Safi, remember Say Cheese and Die?
I don't care. No,
remember?
Thank you.
Remember Goosebumps, Say Cheese and
I
Die?
don't veal.
Where the, God, what was the brother's name? The brother was sitting there eating, and he's like, "It's good chicken, Mom." And she's like, "It's not chicken, Terry, it's veal." Like, everyone has a problem with cooking veal for some reason. And they sent this veal chop that was so raw, it looked like it was straight out of the package on the inside. Like, it was so gross, I almost wanted to throw up. Like, that's how gross it was. Like, I've never gotten grossed out by having people send raw meat and on these cooking shows, but that was really, really gross. Like, I was like, oh, okay, send one of them home. Bye-bye, blue team. Bye-bye, Michael! Or bye-bye, Willie, or fake face. Probably not her, because she's better than both of them. So then with the red team, I mean, they were set up for success because Christian was their captain, and he's a strong voice. And he did a very good job, mostly. Mostly, because he did end up doing bad towards the end. And then
he said that he was overwhelmed.
Yeah.
He said that.
And then you had Emily. She did really good. She was very overwhelmed. She was stressed. Like, she was like, I'm breaking out in hives just thinking about Wolfgang Puck tasting my raw meat. Like, she was really not having a good time. And then Dara, Dara was doing the plating, and she was having the worst time out of everyone in the entire kitchen. I mean, she was doing a terrible job, to the point of where, before the challenge even started, Christian turns to her and says, "Dara, if you need any help with anything, just turn around and tell me, and I'll help you with anything you need." Like she's a little child. Mm-hmm. And they're cooking, like it's a parent and a child cooking food together in the fucking kitchen. And then what ended up happening was that all the chefs crowded around Dara, and they basically babysat her the entire challenge. It was really hilarious, because it was like, God, this is so cringeworthy. It's like, it is unbelievable. Like, it was like Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory, where Charlie's got the golden ticket, and so he's the golden boy. And so he's just staying there while everyone else gets eliminated. Like, that's what it's like. It's like she's meant to be. She's the chosen one.
Yeah.
And so she gets all this special attention and all this special help. And what was funny, Safi? What was funny? You know what was funny with Dara.
What she said?
Yeah, like there was this part where Christian made a boo-boo and he decided to cook 3 pieces of meat and then cook another piece of meat after for the same table, which was a stupid idea. But he was stressed out and he was having some problems. That was like his only problem, though. Well, Dara turns to him and tells him, "You get your meat in the oven you now!" And he's like, "F off, Dara, get off my back about this." And then Dara's like, "I'm really worried about the team right now because I feel like I'm the team captain right now and everybody else is taking orders from me and I'm the one having to be the team captain and get everybody organized and stuff." And it's like, God, she is living in a different reality, Safi. Safi?
Yeah.
Did you wake up now?
Yeah.
Were you asleep again?
No.
Yeah, you were. Can't even hear you on this video, by the way. Can't even hear you.
Sorry.
Are you talking over the wall?
Yeah, the wall of my knees.
The wall of your sleepy, Safi behavior.
Well, it was so awful to watch the second episode. The first one was, it was hard, and I thought it was extremely challenging.
It was fun.
But it was fun because it was such a challenge. It's good for them to be challenged, and it was kind of a game. It was more of a game, I think, than the cooking. But still, the cooking mattered. But because it should, it's Masterchef. But the second one, I thought it was cringeworthy and it was awful to watch. I was uncomfortable almost all the whole episode because of one thing or another, and after what happened, that I believe that Dara should have been sent home that first challenge
For the wall.
for the wall challenge.
Yeah.
And I just kept thinking that, and it made it worse because it not only was it uncomfortable to watch, I kept thinking back that why is she still here?
Yeah.
Because you could tell by looking at her that she was uncomfortable. And then it also impressed on me that the other contestants were speaking of her in the same way I was.
Oh, yeah.
Marco was.
Yeah.
And that was different because I hadn't heard anybody say anything about her. And somebody said, it was Shanika, I think, said she's so smart and she's good. Well, bull, you're lying. She's not that good. She may be smart, but she's not that good. I mean...
That's like the nice, I want to be friends with you after the competition type of thing to say.
Yeah. Probably. So I was just by that second episode, and then it was so I had this negative feeling, and then it was an uncomfortable thing to watch because they all kept making this mistake with raw meat.
Yeah, it was very, very weird.
And
it was just, ugh. This is why I don't like restaurant challenges.
And that was just awful. I struggled to keep watching it because it was just so awful. And like I said, usually I give them, they make a big mistake. Somebody makes a mistake, but then they go back. They kind of give themselves a reset, and they go back and they do pretty good the rest of the time. And nobody makes that mistake twice. But didn't the blue team They did it like 3 times, maybe.
They were good in the appetizer, kinda, and then they got worse and worse and worse.
Yeah.
But the red team got better by the end, I guess. But still, Dara did a terrible job. There was this one part, especially, where all she had to do was vegetables and a salad, and the meat and the starch, whatever, they were already done. And Dara was telling them to wait for her salad. She was saying to wait for her vegetables. Like, for the simple stuff, like, very simple. And she's like, wait 1 minute for my vegetables. And then later on in the episode, I'm really worried about my team right now. Do you think that she says that every episode? And they've just imagine if you're the editor and you get to hear Dara's inner thoughts of like, I'm really worried. I'm really worried. I'm really worried. I'm really worried. Like, we need to have like a t-shirt with Dara on it and it says, I'm really worried about ... and then just have her face and she's like, ooh! Like, everything is so scary. Like, it's hilarious. It's like, it's so weird too that like that's what they want to focus on. Like, her saying, I'm the one who's the team captain now. What did you think when she said that, Safi?
I was blown away. It sounded like a little child.
That's what Mafia Don did in Masterchef Junior.
10 years old or whatever. So I didn't think much of it. I thought if she wasn't being helped all over the place, she would be probably about ready to go home.
Yeah.
Voluntarily.
Yeah.
Because she's a disaster.
So anyways, I would give the restaurant takeover challenge, I give it an F-. I mean,
give it a D.
it's just, I hate restaurant challenges. They're not good episodes. Most of the time, like, I can only think of one good one out of MasterChef Junior and MasterChef Regular. That's how bad they are and how stressful they are. Probably the worst one was the season 1, of course, MasterChef Junior, where you had Troy bullying on the little girl. That was the worst one for sure, because they were enabling bullying, and then they sent home the victim of the bullying because they're shitty ass biased judges. And so they saved Dara's ass again too. I don't like that, so I give it an F-. Like, it's just so laughable and so, like, bizarre that Dara is still there in the semifinals, Safi. Oh, Safi's sound asleep. So anyways, I assume Safi said she gave it a D. Probably D for Dara. So anyways, goodbye everybody. See you soon.